Hello, this video is for Fazaaaal. Fazaaaal. Okay, I'm making a personal video for you because you have been a great customer on my Facebook page. So, anyway, I have a lot to talk about. Okay, and the first thing I wanted to say is watch my videos. They are going to help you, okay? They're going to put you into a different realm. They're going to put you into the realm of love, of true love, which is not romantic. Romantic love that's an oversold out terminology of love. It's an abuse of the word love. So, what does love mean? I will tell you in 1 hour. Listen to it. Listen to the 1 hour. Yes, over 1 hour of video. Okay, listen to me. Okay, here's my camera stand. I made that myself. Okay, this is in the realm of true love. I'm making sculptures, and no, they are not crazy, and no, they are not devil. And no, they're not hell. It's the opposite. It's pure paradise. It is infinity. It is boundlessness. It is the opposite of prison. It's freedom of mind and of existence. It's a form of existence that sets us free, that puts us into a creative flow. Okay, that's what it does. This is my camera stand. It's not finished yet. I'm working on it. I assembled this myself from cardboard boxes. Everyone can do it. It doesn't matter where you live. You can do this. You can buy paint from the hardware store, paint for painting your house. And that's what I do. I buy cheap indoor decorating acrylic paints. They actually thicken up in time. They become just like paint, like artist, painter colors and acrylic paints, and they will have a texture, as you can see, even, and it looks like oil paint, and it's wonderful. It's more environmentally safe. I work with cotton swabs. Those are very cheap, as you know. You can buy like 1,000 for $1 or something. So yeah, that's what I do. I dip it in, I paint, and I even paint large surfaces with this, because it's not about getting it done fast. This is about breathing, being in a flow of painting. This is a painting meditation. What does meditation mean? It means I dive into the now moment, and I'm completely absorbed in that now moment, and I let go of the guard of the ego and the self-image and the religion and all of these psychological shackles that we are put in by society. You drop all of this, okay, and you go into the realm of true love. And true love is when you are in a mental state of complete allowing that what is. And then out of that state, when you see someone else, you see an animal suffering, you see a thirsty dog, you see a child suffering, anyone, it doesn't matter who that is, could be an adult man crying on the street. You go to the thirsty dog, you give that thirsty dog water. That is the first step you have to take. Dogs are gods. Watch my other videos too. It's very, very important. If you do this, your life is gonna get completely transformed from a state of total total mental imprisonment to a total dissolution of the self, of the, all these social norms and goals that have been put onto you. Dissolve all of this. You dissolve all of this in true love. And when you start painting, your body will release all of these toxic things, physically toxic, and your body will start flowing better. You have better circulation. Okay, the waste will come out, literally. People, and this is all connected. This is all interconnected. When someone lives in a mental state of imprisonment, of tightness, the whole body tightens up, including the colon. Then the liver gets toxic and all of this. It has to come out. It has to flow. You have to drink a lot of pure water. Give dogs pure water to drink. Very important. And then when you care, when you see, when you are in that flow, you see the other living being for who he is. That's another living being, just like you. Just like you, the same skin cells, the same nerve endings, the same need for love and petting and kindness and nourishment and and protection. We all need protection. Our brains need protection. The people in India and the Middle East are not protected. They don't have psychological protection. They live in a state of clenching to the only thing they know, and that was the dictation that was put onto them, the social rules. We need to free ourselves from all of this. You need to start painting. Paint it all out. Don't talk to other people about it. Don't put yourself at risk. But start in your own house. Start with this. And if you're not allowed to bring a dog in the house, then find a solution around it. Build a tent, or build another room in your backyard, and say, this is my dog's room. And then you can sit in that room with your dog together, and you can pet that dog. Rescue a dog from the street. There are so many of them. Many people from the United States, I heard, have even come there, and have, not many, but some good souls have come there, and they felt very sorry for the dogs. So in Afghanistan, and there was one guy, and he started to help all these dogs, and then they got a veterinarian to come there, and they started treating these dogs, the infections and the sores, and they were dehydrated, and they gave them water, and they nursed them back to health. So then it started to inspire some local people. That's the movement of love. Okay? Love. Okay? We're all the same. Okay? Humans are not above the animals. Okay? So we're unequal. We're eye level. They're just like us. They're made out of the same materials. They feel the same feelings. Okay? And that's my message. Dive into it. Start to express yourself with art. And art is not right or wrong. You do anything you want to express. Express with paint on a cardboard. Do that. Okay? And I want to lead you into this world. So it's not about boobs, it's about kindness, compassion, and love. True love. True love is giving a dog water to drink. Okay? I don't want the sun to come in there and create more sun formations and UFOs appearing in the corner of the sun ray. That happened one time in a photo. It's really beautiful, but it can damage the lens. So yeah, I'm gonna put this over here like this. I'm gonna be working on that figure, which is supposed to be me, but not very accurate. But it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong in art. I'm gonna take this off. It's getting warm in here. Yes. Oh, I see an animal down there. Oh, I see an animal. Is that a dog? Oh, yeah, that is the dog. That is the doggy. That is the neighbor dog. They cut all the trees around us because they want a view. They don't understand that our forests are not unlimited. Our natural resources are not unlimited. That's what the corporate agenda wants people to think. That it's all unlimited. Like the people were thinking like 300 years back in time, if they thought everything's unlimited. It seems that way when there's maybe a million or a billion humans. Maybe 300 years ago was maybe a billion humans. Now we have over 8 billion humans. Okay, so, and the resources are starting to dwindle. So all of this has to be taken into account. Okay, it's very important. I'm going to be working with this green today. It's a beautiful, beautiful color. This is one of the most beautiful colors in the world. It has been fascinating me my whole life since I'm a little child. When I was like 6 years old or so, I was absolutely mesmerized with these greens, with these mint type of greens. My dad called them zinc greens, because when copper oxidates, there are some old buildings and some cathedrals and stuff like this in Germany, and they are like 300, 400 years old, these copper domes, and in time the copper, when it gets rainwater on it and oxygen, it oxidizes into a zinc green like this, very similar like this. And those are very beautiful greens. Women, that's what most men in the Middle East don't know. Women are equally intelligent. It's sad for me to have to say that, to have to explain that. But the people in India, the men in India and in the Middle East don't know that. So I have to explain it. They don't know it because not only have they not been taught that biology and all of this, they have undermined the information of biology. They have withheld information. Not only have they withheld information and muted all of that information, but they have distorted it to fit into their dictation, the male dictation. And I believe that the original teachings of Muhammad were not male dictated. They were not a sexist, suppressive type of philosophy. That's what I believe. I might be wrong, but I have this feeling. You might think, oh boy, if you see me, the people in the West, they must be super crazy or something. Most people in the West are equally, or almost as shackled with religion, with their religion. They're almost as suppressed as they are in Morocco or Dubai or Yemen or Pakistan or Iraq or India. So when you see me, I am a bit of a freak here, okay? I am not the average Westerner. So, but I teach the Westerners just as much as I teach anyone else from around the globe. Or let's not call it teaching, let's call it inspiration, inspiring. I want to inspire. Because it's not me on a pedestal. It's not, some people called me boss on Facebook in a sarcastic way. And I said, no, no need to be bitter or anything. I'm not your boss. Because that is not my mission. My mission is to liberate you. You don't want to fall from one boss to another. You don't want to fall from one religion right into another. You haven't grown if you do that. So you want to grow out of religion, a way out, through and out and free. You want to liberate your mind, set yourself completely free. That's what Jiddu Krishnamurti has been doing his whole life. He has traveled all over the world and he has given talks and conversations, and that is what his mission was all about, to set humans completely and unconditionally free. And so what I'm doing here is I'm picking up that message and I put it in my own words for you. And I show you what he means with what he said. And it's not a religion. Okay? He was not religious. People would come and they would quote the Buddha, and even though, he knows the Buddha, the original teachings of the Buddha are truth, he wasn't bringing the Buddha into the conversation. There can be someone who says the truth. Why should we make that person then into the iconic figure? I mean, of course the Buddha is an iconic figure, but we don't have to bring the messenger in as the emphasis, right? We have to listen to the message instead and not focus ourselves on the messenger and on the way he looks and the way he lives, and we make that our role model and so on. That is bypassing the message. Listen to the message, There have been many, many great people in the world. I regard the Buddha as the highest because the Buddha is the infinite. But there have been many great souls in the world. Many of them completely undetected. Many of them falling under the radar. Many, many souls that are much more evolved than I am, for example, that would fall under the radar. I'm a little bit on the flashy side, actually, with my artwork and all of this. And I'm not that evolved. I'm just a regular person who is trying to convey that message to the world. That's all I'm doing because that's my passion to do. This is the flow. This work here, like painting, that's being in the now. Not about, oh, do you like my painting or not? Or how are they going to perceive it? Is that going to sell? No, that's all besides the point. What matters is that you paint. And it doesn't matter what you paint. What matters is that you like what you're painting. And even if you don't like it, you just keep painting it. Keep painting it out. Maybe it's a message from within that wants to express itself. As a child, for example, I painted things that came directly from my guts. I painted my former incarnations. I painted stuff from a lifetime during the Middle Ages. I painted Iron Maidens. I had never seen Iron Maidens before. I painted, and I'm not going to get into the details what it is, you can read it up for yourself. It is a very negative subject. I have gone through lifetimes of extreme torment. But I don't believe that we, as this is very easily also misunderstood. Meister Eckhart and so on, saying that, Eckhart Tolle, saying that we need to, in order to grow, we have to go through some ordeals. And yes, it is a hard school that moves us forward, because we learn, unfortunately, we usually only learn through a hard school, because our egos aren't so willing to learn without that hard school. The ego isn't so willing to learn unless we sort of reach the end of the road. That is the case with most people. That has been the case in my life, in this life, and in other lives that I have lived. So it's a learning ground. Life is a school. We have obstacles thrown at us from the society, from the religions, and so on. See, Muhammad, he used to meditate all by himself in nature, under the sky, on mountains and hills, as Friedrich Nietzsche always did. And Friedrich Nietzsche always said, it is lonely up there in the clouds. No one will follow you to it. People will stay at the marketplace for entertainment and ego and pleasure and so on, always running away from introspection. And then Muhammad he had the infinite come through to communicate with him, and he got into an amazing state of mind of being tuned in with the infinite. Out of that, he wrote things down. But, then he was back in society, and he may have written these things down in a way that they were misunderstood. And even if he had written them down, these insights, even if he had written it down in an understandable way, people would still be tending to misunderstand it, because they want to misunderstand, because the ego wants to misunderstand the message of love and flow and being in the now moment. I do not believe that he hated dogs. Absolutely not. I do not believe that. I believe that later on, after his death, people have distorted his message. They have put their own agenda into it. They have, this is the truth. I'm telling you the truth. Dogs are gods and angels and light workers and indigos. Okay? Dogs are here on earth to help us understand what love is. Dogs know what love is. They practice it. They teach by practicing. Okay? A dog will give his life for you. That's true love. If you have a dog, he will give his life for you anytime. That's true love. So I believe that the people, it was all about elbowing, the one who elbowed the best survived and got his offspring. It's also genetic. I don't want people taking offense to this. This is a fact. Now let's make the best out of this situation. The brain has plasticity. Even if we have a brain that is very anchored into, I need to elbow my way through. I need to punch someone else out of my way. The heck was that other person. We can transcend that attitude. We can. The brain has the capacity, even if it's difficult for some people. The brain has the capacity and the plasticity to grow beyond that state. I know that because I have done a lot of researching. I studied psychology at university. I have done a lot of reading, and I have informed myself about neuroscience and neurobiology. And there are some amazing researchers out there that have come up with great breakthroughs in knowledge about the brain. So it is possible to transcend that. And for example, the way that they transcend this is by being exposed to love, and also by meditating, and there's a particular meditation, the Vipassana meditation, that is very transformative for the brain in this regard. To meditate on loving kindness, Maitri, as they call it, loving kindness. Some people will say, oh, now you are teaching a religion. No, this is a philosophy, not a religion. There are people who make a religion out of it. There are religions that have come out of it. That's not what I'm all about. I am after the message here. I am after the philosophy of true love. And that's what Maitri is. Maitri and Karuna. Maitri is loving kindness, and Karuna is motherly caring and protecting and nurturing. And all living beings deserve that loving kindness and caring and nurturing. All living beings, all brains want to feel safe. And as Judy Krishnamurti said, if we don't feel safe, if we feel scared or clenched or boxed under some kind of religion or dictation, suppression, then the brain is not clear. Then the brain cannot think clearly. We can't learn in a state of fear and anxiety and suppression and oppression and worrying and terror and all of this. There's no way we can learn in such a state of mind. When I was a child, I was in such a state of mind, of fear. I couldn't learn anything. I was just sitting there completely overwhelmed. Because the teachers were not, they were not in tune. They haven't worked on their mental illness. So how can they help? How can they make the children feel safe? So we need to start. So we need to start somewhere. I hope that this message reaches you. I wish that very deeply. It is very difficult in a world of flashiness and sex and entertainment and self-gratification to be seen with this message. It's very difficult, it seems like. But it's doable. We can do it. I don't only believe it, I know it, because I'm practicing it. I'm practicing this in the midst of chaos and advertisement and corporate agenda cashing in on people being religious and fearful and all of this. The entire weapon industry worldwide lives on people being afraid. Let's not cater to them. Let's step out of that cycle. I have psychic abilities. I know a lot of people will laugh or say, dismiss it. But I do. I've seen it over and over again. And later on, one is easily to say, oh, this was just a coincidence, or this was just because of this or this, but why did it happen in the first place? Because when we are tuned in, I've always been tuned into this degree as a child too, even though I was traumatized. This has to do with my past lifetimes of learning and growing. There are many people, there are many people who are more advanced than I am. I am not saying this to be putting myself on a pedestal. I'm not saying this to put a focus. I'm just explaining this, explaining what happened to me, and trying to make this better understood in regards to my own example. I'm just one out of many, my own example. I have seen it with my own eyes. I know that there is the world of metaphysics. I know that there are many other realms and dimensions. They're all around us and in us. But if we're not tuned in, then we don't perceive it. Or we will, whatever happens, if a miracle happens in the medical industry, they call it, this is a miracle. They will attribute it to Jesus, or they will, this is all illusion. They will attribute it to a coincidence. They will attribute this to, they will even say it was the farmer industry. No, it was happened in spite of the farmer industry. The pharmaceutical drugs are poisons. Okay, this is a fact. But the world is run by the pharma industry. I'm glad to see that the natural medicine is stepping up now. Stepping up now. People are starting to understand that it works. Some crooks people even, some people who are always motivated by money only, they seize the opportunity of supplements, which I don't think we should take supplements, but it's getting now in at least it's moving in that direction, even economically. So that's a good movement, even if some wrong people are latching onto the bandwagon. That's better than the pharmaceutical industry. So, but, we can heal ourselves without pharmaceutical drugs. Much better, of course, because our livers need to be clean. We can heal ourselves with the fruits of Mother Earth. Nature has at least 1,000 plants for every single health problem. For every single one, okay, including rejuvenation. But that information will be suppressed, it will be hogged, they will be synthesizing that plant substance, they will isolate it, then they will synthesize it, then they will patent it, and they put their name on it so they can sell it to us. It's an industry. It is a profit maximization industry. It's not about you, it's not about your health. The doctor gets kickbacks for prescribing you Viagra and stuff, and Prozac and Seroquel and Cyprexa and Risperdal. Okay. I know all these terrible things. I know them up close and personal. My body knows them very well. My body knows what it does, what horror it creates. So they want to make money. So it's you the consumer, who has to say, not with me anymore. Okay? Whether it's the weapon industry or the pharma industry or the religious industry. Yes, that's an industry. People are making money on religion, on your expense. Religion is always about hierarchy and suppression and oppression and power, a reign of power from someone who hawks everything onto himself and keeps everyone else in fear and oppression. That has always been that way in history. And we want to dissolve that. It's time to dissolve it. I see what they're doing. They create a fear frenzy, the pharmaceutical industry. If you pay close attention to it, you will see it. And the meat industry, is very fierce in its defending its own profit maximization on cost of the animals. That's why I say, go vegan. Step out of that cycle of horror. You can think clearer when you go vegan. You declutter your brain. Meat is actually toxic. Not just because it is polluted, but that too, with all kinds of horrible things. But it is toxic in itself. It is energetically toxic and it is physically toxic. I talked about this before in my videos, the story of Kaspar Hauser. Kaspar Hauser is a very interesting story. Kaspar Hauser was the heir to a throne in Baden-Württemberg, Germany, and that was around 1815 or something. And what happened is that the stepmother, the second wife, or the mistress wife of the king, she wanted her sons to take over, to win the throne. So she killed. It's amazing how this got through undetected. She killed every male heir to the throne that was standing in the way of her own sons making it to the throne. So finally ended up wanting to have a baby killed. The baby by Stephanie de Beauharnais. Stephanie de Beauharnais. Yeah, it's hard to remember that name. But anyway, Stephanie was the main wife of that king. and she gave birth to a son who was the heir to that dynasty, and that was Fazaaaal. And and so the stepmother secretly hired a hitman to take that baby and kill him. And the hitman just couldn't do it. He just could not kill that child, yet there was something so innocent about that child. It is the soul of Chögyam Trungpa Rinpoche, and I see these incarnations. I can see it. I know people will argue with me and say, "Who are you to see this?" But I do. I see it. So the hitman felt sorry, felt compassion. So he took that child and he exchanged that child for a dead, for a stillborn baby. His own wife. He was working at that court, at that royal court himself as an employee. They had a dwelling near there, and his wife had just given birth to a stillborn baby boy, a dead baby. So he decided this is his chance. He took the dead baby and put it into the crib, and he took Fazaaaal, the heir to the throne, the son of Stephanie de Beauharnais. He took him and he acted like that was his son. So, and he could do this in the first couple of years until the child was like 3 or 4 years old, because then the resemblance doesn't come through yet at that time. So he got away with that for a long time. Then, as soon as the resemblance started to kick in to Stephanie de Beauharnais, he took that child and he brought the child to a different royal court, and somewhere farther south. And they had a dungeon. They always had these dungeons, also wine cellars and all kinds of things, where they kept things cooler. And there was another person that would take over this child and keep that child in that dungeon and feed the child. And what they were gonna do is, because they felt sorry for him, they were gonna keep the child there until he is able to until he's a teenager, so then they can release him somewhere and just tell him a different story of where he came from, so that they didn't have to kill him, but no one knows where he's coming from, and they lead the public astray on what his origins were. And so that's what happened, and he was brought to a different dungeon, and then after a while that person or something must have happened where it wasn't safe anymore to keep him there, because they knew that that stepmother, the second wife, the mistress wife, was probably looking for that child, because she wanted the child to be killed and be abducted, and there was suddenly a dead child in that crib. That was an unexpected situation for her. So she already suspected that someone probably did that and just replaced him with a stillborn baby. And at that time, many babies were stillborn, because that was before modern modern gynecology and all of this, you know, where they can keep a baby alive and put them into an incubator and all of these kind of things, which is, I find cruel, actually. I think death is more merciful than an incubator. That's my personal view on it. But anyway, it got scary. They were starting to look, the hitmen were starting to, the new hitmen hired by that lady were starting to look for that son, and so they had to relocate him again farther south to Nuremberg, and they, which is very far south, Bavaria, and they brought him to a dungeon there at a royal court, and they only gave him bread and water to drink. He had a little wooden horse on wheels. They called it Ross, Ross, and so he only knew a very few words to how to speak. No one ever taught him anything. And he was highly sensitive to light because there was only a little bit light, very faint light coming into that room. And probably some rats and stuff that he was able to play with and have interaction with that saved his sanity, you know, the rats. They saved his sanity in that situation. What a horrible, horrible, horrible nightmare that is for a child, not to have hugs and love and protection and safety and live in a cold dungeon. So eventually at age 15 or so, or 17, they sent him out to the marketplace by himself with a letter in his hand that said, my father was a horseback rider and some kind of employee, and he wants to become like his father, wants to become a horseback rider. And so they didn't know what to do with him. When they found him, they put him into a horse stable because he was such a wild kid. He didn't know how to move his body, and they didn't